They're calling Jack Smith's October surprise. Now I see it more like Jack Smith's October desperation. And like I said before, guys, desperate people are some dangerous people. So we got to pay very close attention to this new filing from the special counsel talking all kinds of shiz about Donald Trump's election interference. Well, guess what, guys? People aren't buying it. Now, for one, former ambassador of the United States to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, he said that after what he's seen the Democrats do, he's flipping back to Trump. MSNBC host Ellie Mystal couldn't contain his rage and tried to silence the guy on the air. Just watch this.
And after January 6th, we saw what Ms. Matthews did. Let's listen to where you drew a line in the sand.
Completely in, even with all of the foibles that everyone has already identified, and I don't need to go through them again, until January 6th. It was a no for me after that.
A no for you after that. Why was it important for you to say no more Trump because of his January 6th conduct? And do you stand by that?
No, I don't stand by it. And I'll tell you why. I've now lived 4 years under the Biden-Harris policies. And I have to say that those policies are not only becoming an existential threat to our country's way of life, but to our allies as well.
So when you,
and
Ambassador, this is, I'll let you finish, but this is so striking. You said it was a no for me after that, after January 6th. I did. And here we are right now.
I did.
And you're saying it's a yes for you.
It is a yes for me. It is an absolute yes for me. That is how badly the Biden-Harris team have prosecuted their job.
But the whole point you seem to be making was that January 6th and that kind of attack on democracy is bigger than any policy difference.
I am seeing so many attacks on democracy that eclipse January 6th.
Now, honestly, guys, after what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done to our country, I'm frankly surprised anyone would be voting Democrat ever again. They want to talk about election interference? Well, former President Donald Trump talks about the Democratic Party's election interference right here, right now, with the recent Jack Smith filing.
Washington, D.C. today, I'd be negligent as a reporter if I didn't ask you about this, Mr. President. Obviously, we know that Special Counsel Jack Smith had filed court documents calling your actions in the aftermath of the 2020 election, quote, a private criminal effort. Can you respond to that?
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He just lost the big documents case. That was the biggest of them all. They said the documents case, and they said that was the toughest of them all. Let me tell you, we just won it, and it was won strongly and completely, and it was a total victory in Florida. And he is a person who is trying, and he works for Kamala, and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new. They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election. They rigged the election. What they do is they rig the election, and then they go around getting people and persecuting people and prosecuting people that did nothing wrong. They rigged the election. These are crooked people. Deranged Jack Smith is a prosecutor who was put there in order to screw up the election for the Republican Party. The people know it. I know it. Everybody knows it, and it's not going to happen. They should have never allowed the information to come before the public, but they did that because they want to hurt you with the election. Now, so far, and you know we've had great victories, but so far, what has happened is if you take a look at what they've done, the public doesn't buy it, and my poll numbers have gone up instead of down. It's pure election interference to get an incompetent person like Kamala. She's grossly incompetent. She's more incompetent than Biden to get these people elected. And the voters, they get it. They've read it, they get it. And it's already come out. Every single channel is calling it election interference. Ready? They rigged the election. The election was rigged. I didn't rig it. They did.
Now, you talk about voters.
Seriously, guys, shouldn't they be sending Jack Smith to prison right now? Because this whole October filing against Donald Trump is raising all sorts of questions about election interference. I mean, just check this out for yourself.
To be clear to our viewers, this just dropped minutes ago, so we're all just going over this information, absorbing it, trying to determine what's new, what's important. You have been reviewing it in the few minutes since it dropped. What stands out to you at this early hour?
Look, Jake, this is an extraordinary filing that was just released to the public. It's enormous. Like you said, it's roughly 170 pages, and it is full of redactions. We're not getting to see everything that the special counsel said, but what makes this so extraordinary is we're just a month out from the presidential election, and here the special counsel is really revealing the most comprehensive picture yet of its case against former President Trump and his alleged efforts to subvert the 2020 election. And this is not something that usually happens in the course of a criminal case. But what is extraordinary here, there are many things that are extraordinary, but back in July, the Supreme Court looked at this case and ruled that former President Trump does have some immunity from prosecution and tasked the trial judge with evaluating this case and determining which charges and which pieces of evidence survive the Supreme Court's decision. So a couple days ago, the special counsel, they submitted a roughly 200-page filing to the judge, laying out what they believed is its case even after the Supreme Court's ruling. So here we're getting some of that, though there are redactions. Now, former President Trump's lawyers, they have been fighting the release of this evidence, arguing that this is potentially prejudicial to the November race, because, of course, this is the last chance that voters will have to see some of this evidence, some of which has never been seen before, and to really hear the story that Jack Smith and his prosecutors would have put before a jury, because, of course, this case is not going to trial anytime soon. And if former President Trump is reelected, his attorney general is expected to dismiss this case as well as the other federal case against Trump.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but the people that I've been talking to, they're starting to tune out the goofy ass propaganda and just voicing their full support for Donald Trump. What about you guys? Case in point, Gordon Sondland, a star witness during former President Donald Trump's first impeachment, shocked MSNBC's Ellie Mystal when he said he planned to vote for the Republican nominee. Now, some important context on the guy that you saw in the first clip earlier. Sondland served as Donald Trump's ambassador to the European Union and testified against him in 2019 when he was accused of holding up Ukraine funding in an effort to pressure President Vladimir Zelensky into announcing investigations into Joe and Hunter Biden. And guess what? Now he's taking it all back and basically saying that it's an absolute yes for him, considering how badly the Biden-Harris team has prosecuted their job. I think he meant executed here, but yeah, whatever. And as for the January 6th situation, Sondland says that he's seeing so many attacks on democracy that just totally eclipsed January 6th. Now, what I didn't show you guys from the clip is that Sondland actually continued his point after Melber interrupted. He mentioned that he lives in the bucolic city of Portland, Oregon, which has been destroyed by those policies from Biden and Harris. Absolutely decimated. He said businesses are suffering and that his own business is suffering solely for political reasons, and it's all fixable and they don't want to fix it. So there you go, guys. A bona fide former Never Trumper turned Never Harris for you guys. Now, just think about that for a second. A former Never Trumper turned Never Harriser. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, it's conspiracy theory night at the Abby Phillips show with Ellie Mystal saying that Donald Trump would make the Supreme Court steal the 2024 presidential election for him. So cooler heads prevailed as Scott Jennings called him out on this conspiracy theory.
You each have 30 seconds to say your piece. Ellie, you're up.
My big story this weekend was the New York Times' excellent reporting on John Roberts and how he's been putting the thumb on the scale for Donald Trump all past this term. So my hot take is this. If Harris is lucky enough to win the Electoral College by only one state, John Roberts and his Supreme Court will find a way to flip that state back into Trump and give Trump the victory. It will be a redo of 2000. So people in Harris's camp need to understand they need to win by more than one state. They need to win by 2, 3, 4 states to make their margin of victory so large that the Supreme Court can't take it away from them.
There's a lot going on in that one.
I feel like they know they need to win by more than one state.
Yeah, I feel
because like the Supreme Court
I feel like that might be the only way to do this thing this time around, Scott.
I mean, for the record, Bush won Florida.
I would love to roll that recount back there.
I don't think so.
Please.
My God.
We should have
conspiracy theory night here at the Abby Phillips show. Okay, all right.
So yeah, a lot happening there, but basically what you got here is a Harris-leaning panelist suggesting that Al Gore won the 2000 presidential election and predicting that the Supreme Court is going to do something to make Donald Trump win this year. A while back, I realized that one of the most important factors in success isn't just like how hard you work, it's also who you work alongside with. I made a small shift in who I spent my time with, and that's exactly right about when I started to see my income, my mindset, and opportunities just skyrocket. In fact, the Life Pursuit Network offers that same powerful shift for you. For less than $1 a day, you'll be surrounded by people who push you to be better, who hold you accountable, and who are as motivated as you are, if not more. It's about more than just motivation. It's about real action and real results. So don't wait any longer. Make the change that you need. Click the link in the description down below and join us over in the Liberty Pursuit Network today. Scott Jennings shared a clip on his X account asking if somebody could remind him of the rules of election denialism because two panelists assured him on CNN that the 2000 election was stolen. Yep. Let me tell you guys, desperate people are some dangerous people, all right? And with Kamala Harris drowning in the polls, no one's as desperate as the Democratic Party right now. I mean, why else would they try to launch their attack on Special Counsel Jack Smith with this supposed October surprise of a filing against Trump? Even CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Mystal said Jack Smith bent ordinary procedure to kneecap former President Donald Trump after he failed to try the candidate before the November election. Now, according to Honig, Smith successfully received permission from the judge Tanya Chutkin to file a 180-page long brief 4 times the normal maximum. And after redacting several names, she complied with Jack Smith's request and made the rest of the brief public. As Honig described it, the larger, if less obvious headline is that Jack Smith has essentially abandoned any pretense he'll bend any rule, switch up on any practice, so long as he gets to chip away at Donald Trump's electoral prospects. Now, at this point, guys, there's simply no denying Jack Smith's conduct on any sort of principled or even institutional basis. Because you see, in standard criminal procedure and under federal rules, a prosecutor first files an indictment. The defense makes a motion, and then the prosecution responds to said motions. But Honig said Smith turned these rules on their head when he asked Chutkin to file without a pending defense motion. He also mentioned how Donald Trump's team objected, and the judge acknowledged that Jack Smith's request to file first was procedurally irregular. What's up with that? But still, Chutkin ruled in Jack Smith's favor, as she's done at virtually every consequential turn. In short, for Honig, Jack Smith's proactive filing is prejudicial to Donald Trump in the legal and political sense. Also a bit ironic because Jack Smith previously complained that Donald Trump's words might actually taint the jury pool for the case. So what Jack Smith has done here, according to the CNN legal analyst, is that he drafted a massive document that contains all manner of damaging statements about a criminal defendant made outside of a trial setting and without being subjected to the rules of evidence or cross-examination. In his words, if prosecutors bend their principles depending upon the identity of their prey, then they've got no principles at all. Guys, hit the like button if you're hearing what we're saying here, and if you want more hard-hitting and more importantly, honest and truthful content like this, don't hesitate, guys. Subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell as well. We are literally just halfway through this one, so do not go anywhere. We are continuing our Jack Smith discussion right now. Now, in case it wasn't clear before, that was Jack Smith, the special counsel prosecuting Donald Trump in the district, putting his thumb on the electoral scales as of Wednesday. Now, we've talked about this on the channel before, guys. The Supreme Court has already ruled that a president's official actions are immune from being questioned in a courtroom setting, and that Donald Trump is at least presumptively immune from prosecution for anything that he said to then Vice President Mike Pence. But nope, it doesn't seem like Judge Chutkin was listening to the High Court. Supreme Court? What Supreme Court? Instead, she decided to give Mr. Smith a free hand in second-guessing Mr. Trump's actions as commander-in-chief. This after Chutkin's initial plan to rush the case to trial before November 5th was sabotaged by the Supreme Court justice's intervention. So instead, they're basically resorting to a one-sided presentation of allegations against the Republican nominee about a month before Election Day as their best option. So I looked into this. Chutkin was an Obama appointee, and sure enough, she had previously ruled witnesses' identities and testimony were so sensitive that the former president had to be gagged lest their names be leaked and the witnesses subjected to harassment. In her own words, in order to safeguard the integrity of their proceedings, it is necessary to impose certain restrictions on public statements by interested parties. So what happened? Suddenly, she's letting Jack Smith do what she expressly forbid Donald Trump from doing. Maybe she no longer cares about safety. She freed Jack Smith to finger anyone involved through their job titles and fake redactions. She fingered everyone. Got me thinking about Diddy for a second. I'm sorry. Let me get back to it. Now, some people have already started to identify the names behind the redactions, actually. For instance, Jack Smith refers to Donald Trump's attorney general as P52, obviously referring to William Barr. It says so in the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment requires the evidence these witnesses gave to be subject to cross-examination. But nope, Judge Chutkan is letting Jack Smith bypass this process and make a case to the public in legal briefs. Experts have weighed in on this time and time again. There is no legal reason a proper proceedings couldn't take place after the election. There's also no reason not to file this kind of incendiary material under seal to avoid the appearance of influencing the coming election. So maybe the mainstream media propaganda mill wasn't enough anymore for Kamala Harris. They needed the Justice Department to get in on the action and give its media allies misleading headlines to print. I mean, outlets like Deadline went with "Make them riot." Newly unsealed filing gives new details of federal election conspiracy case against Donald Trump, as if these words were the former president's. And if you read it, it's only in the second to last paragraph that the author acknowledges that someone else, a campaign staffer, made the comment. Most people aren't even going to read that far. Go figure. But remember the Brooks Brothers riot of 2000 when then Vice President Al Gore challenged the election results in Florida? Like they said, it's not the most secure election ever when Democrats lose. Really? But really, what we have here, guys, many critics are saying, is an 11th hour smear campaign from Special Counsel Jack Smith, the desperate act of a prosecutor because his classified documents case against Donald Trump bombed in a Florida courtroom where his appointment as special counsel was deemed illegal. In fact, Donald Trump's legal team was expecting this kind of move from the Democrats. I mean, why not? Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, in an interview with Jesse Waters on Fox News, called the actions by the Justice Department or Department of Justice an act of desperation. She said that the Department of Justice has been complicit and that Americans pay attention. We have 30 plus days until an election. She even predicts that they are going to be hit with an onslaught of fake news and they're going to be hit with an onslaught of litigation. Or in other words, she's lying and she's trying to mask her words with her physical actions. We can only tell so much with body language, although we can tell a lot once we differentiate the truth from the lies. So let's start with fracking, shall we? This is a huge issue in Pennsylvania, a state that Kamala Harris is pandering to and is said to be the key to the White House. In other words, if she don't get Pennsylvania, she's not going to the White House in November. Here's what she said to Dana Bash during their interview.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Now, I want you guys to note how she's laying down the narrative here. She clearly says that she made it clear that she would not ban fracking. Not anybody else but herself. But listen to what she said during the VP debate against Mike Pence.
What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact.
So we need to do our part, guys. Make sure our counter information gets out there. I know I say this all the time, but it's true. Every like, every view, every comment, every subscribe to the channel, it really does go a long way. It goes a long way in helping us get our message out to more like-minded Americans who are out there that are in need of the truth in communities like ours. So anyway, I just want to thank y'all so much for the support. I am also working double time these days to give you guys the updates that really matter. Just like this recent video I did where we revealed the even blue states. Even blue states, guys, are turning on Kamala Harris and the vice president is flipping out. Definitely check that out right after this one, guys. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching and hitting the like button. You guys are amazing. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and sharing these videos on social media. I'll see you guys next time.